Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Ask the Expert segment. And this one is part 3, and it's all about business planning. It's brought to you by Futurpreneur. I am Doini Peel, and I'm the founder of Canadian Small Business Women. Let me tell you a little bit about Futurpreneur. They have been fueling the entrepreneurial passions of Canada's young enterprise for 2 decades. They are the only national nonprofit organization that provides financing, mentoring, and support tools to aspiring business owners aged 18 to 39. Their internationally recognized mentoring program matches young entrepreneurs with a business expert from a network of more than 2,400 volunteer members. You can find out more about Futurpreneur at the link in the description. Today's expert is Andrea Welling, but before you meet Andrea, please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on more videos like these, and also submit your questions at the link in the description. We're going to jump right in. Hello, Andrea.
Hello, how are you doing today? It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for lending your expertise. And if you missed Andrea in part 1 and part 2, make sure you go back and you listen to those because she dropped a lot of knowledge. I mean, we got real in depth on pricing and all the components of a business plan. It was a lot. So definitely go back.
Awesome. And so excited to support Canadian small business women as well as you doing it and helping young entrepreneurs be successful in their businesses.
Oh, thank you. See, she's doing good work out there, everyone.
Thank you.
We're going to jump into some questions now. How do you determine what distribution channel to focus on for your new business or your new venture?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And obviously, it's going to be different depending on the industry. That's probably something obvious to say. I would say you want to test. I would test 3 different channels and see how those distribution channels work out for you. And there might be many different factors in that. There may be different costs, or there may be different suppliers. So a lot of business, it used to be that you were supposed to start your business perfectly, and now they say, please fail. So we don't necessarily want you to take too much risk and lose everything. Not like that. But what I mean is test things and see how they go for a period of time and then decide and then evaluate after a period of time and decide if that's really going to work for your business. So and that's the case with so many parts of business, is to try and pivot. And this is how, as an entrepreneur, you build resilience, is that you try something and you pivot to something else. You try something and you pivot to something else. So that would be how I would kind of go about that. I also think with sort of distribution channels, what are your competitors doing? And that could be that you want to do something similar. It could be that you could do something completely different that they're not doing, and think outside the box. And this was something that came up a little bit in COVID. Sometimes people were getting really creative and finding new ways of distributing products. And that's sometimes where innovation comes. So yeah, so anyway, hopefully that gives you a good place to start.
Do you suggest that, especially when you're a solopreneur or a very small business, you try multiple channels at the same time and, closely monitor and see which ones you want to not really,
Yeah, I think I would be careful not to overextend too much, so that you're still offering the same quality, and then you're able to really get that testing done well. So you don't want to overextend, but there's also a piece about not putting, expression, all the eggs in one basket either. So I think, the new term is sort of, what is it, A/B testing, or you're testing 2 different scenarios. So somewhere in there, I think is about right. Depends on the risk, the cost, as well. If you're having to bring in If you're having to provide a lot of inventory or a shipment, it's good to start small and experiment first before you commit, usually financially, to a lot of inventory, or a space or a lease or that type of thing. So oftentimes, if someone's new in an industry, you want to try to go in on a lower risk opportunity. Within different channels. So rather than starting a brick and mortars restaurant, could you do some catering first and then experiment with what is your best product, who likes it, where could you sell it, and kind of move toward more commitment and more risk. So
I called it the cookie theory. if if everyone's seen a lot of CSBW videos, you will hear me say this all the time. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs come to me and their idea is a cookie, but they don't have cookie money. They might have money for crumbs. Let's start with a bite. Let's not try to shove the whole cookie down our throats.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Start small and grow bit by bit, and it's like a balance between being realistic and idealistic. So you want a vision, that a dream that pushes you, but you want to live in the reality of the pace you need to go at. And entrepreneurs who are successful grow steadily, and they also anticipate growth, because one of the things that can actually be really harmful to business is growing too fast and you just can't keep up with it, and then you kind of lose your reputation if you can't actually meet the needs of your clients well enough. So yeah.
So the next part is really something that a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid of, or it's also the part where, you know, when you start talking about it, eyes glaze over. So, what, what are the key financial templates that can be used when you're trying to complete that financial section of the business plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the financial part, I often like to bring it back to money. So think about this is about money coming into your pocket, and money is something you spend on lots of things that you like, whether that's your favorite sweater or your favorite drink, or a trip you want to go on. So the word financial can be a little bit, it sounds a little dry, can sound intimidating to some people. Think about it as money. And so and then that can create a mindset of accessibility, and also hopefully one of interest and excitement. And really, the Excel template is simply, it's just a great tool. The template is a place to put some numbers and data to help guide you and make decisions. And really, and we have templates on our website. So we've got a great cash flow template that many organizations use, such as Small Business BC, WeBC, that helps you put some structure around where you're going to put that information. And if you haven't used Excel before, you know, do a quick online tutorial, and then just get in there and give it a try. Also, within our organization, if you're a little bit intimidated by financial statements, you can talk to our entrepreneur in residence or go to our Rock My Business series. So we want to make it easy for you, and we want you to enjoy it and see that this is something that's going to build potential for you. So when you're in that template, it already has equations built into it. So you don't have to actually you don't have to design it. You basically put numbers into it, and you might have to create some labels for those numbers, whether it's the sales or the expenses, and you're basically putting the numbers in. And what is really interesting about that is, as you put the numbers in, if you really know your business super well, it'll actually not take you very long at all. You can probably sit down in an hour and get it done. If you start doing it and then, oh, I don't know about that, I don't know about that, that might be annoying, but it's actually a really good thing, because it's something that means that there's a part of your business you haven't thought about yet, and you maybe don't have enough information in detail, and it's probably worth going away and spending some time really answering those questions. So rather than throwing like a giant sales number a bulk sales number into the month, we suggest break it down by product. Well, you might be like, well, I don't know how many sales of each product. Well, maybe you want to figure that out. So you might have to take some time to research that. So it might feel a little tedious, but when you put it together, and it can actually be a somewhat accurate reflection of where you're going, and then you can build from that cash flow template what you think your future will be. People find it really empowering. And it goes beyond then feeling like kind of like, oh, this is kind of annoying, to something that is, the numbers start to come out at you, and you can kind of see, well, what, oh, okay, if I do that and that, maybe, maybe that will happen, and maybe I could be able to make some money, and maybe I could do something with this. And this is the feedback we get as people build their business. Um, yeah, and typically with cash flow templates, again, this changes over time. So people often start with something, and then after 6 months, they may have to revise it because their assumptions change or the conditions change. So yeah.
Okay, so you can get a lot of templates on the Futurpreneur website.
Yes, Futurepreneur website template.
Perfect. I have a question about the operations section of the business plan. I know it was mentioned as one of the key components of a business plan, but if you're a solopreneur or a business with very little employees, how important is this operations section?
Regardless of your size, it's really important to understand all the steps and stages of your business and how you're going to roll that out. And even though you may be doing some business activities already without a lot of thought, you might be creating or building something really easily. Um, if you try to grow it, if you try to scale it, if you try to at some point bring in people into your process, if you don't know your process well, like if you haven't put it down on paper, you may not be able to communicate it to anybody else. You may not be able to replicate it to anybody else. And so that's the really key piece about getting that operations um, down on paper. It's also good that you'll probably see gaps. Like if you start to fill in that section of the business plan, there may be some areas where you could be doing something a little bit differently. If you were to look at researching operations of other businesses. And so it's really an opportunity to record what you do, but reflect and think about how you could also do it more efficiently, differently, and better as well.
Okay, so it's important regardless of your size, everyone. Please. We have one more question for you, Andrea.
Wonderful.
How do you realistically gauge process or production costs, especially during the season that we're in of logistical nightmares?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, supply chain issues have been plaguing us
Yeah.
for
And
too
it's
long.
tough for small businesses. We don't have
Yeah,
leverage, right?
yeah, yeah. No, it's absolutely true. I mean, obviously, it's always good to look back at historic, what you've been paying for, and looking at some incremental increases, because that will happen over time. I think some of the ways people are getting around supply chain is by creating networks and community. Are there
Mhm.
ways that I can reduce costs by sharing in maybe some type of shipment or some kind of way of reducing that cost and creating a little bit more certainty? Um, and again, it's good to have some knowledge of um, different trends or people who might be able to see. It's hard to see into the future, but oftentimes I like to keep an ear to the economic outlook, to those that really know a bit about where they see the economy going and where the issues are, so you can try to anticipate what might be happening. I think right now environmental trends are really big,
Yeah.
and a lot of companies are moving to becoming more environmental. What might that mean to you? What might that mean to your business? And what kinds of products or services might you do with that trend? Um, you know, um, so I think kind of looking, it's hard to forecast. So it's always good with a business to have a certain contingency, a certain buffer, so that you don't run out too quickly. So having good systems so that you don't run out of your supplies too quickly. And also, I like to say have multiple suppliers. So if one suddenly finds issues, you may be able to find another one. So it's just trying to, it's also being, again, adaptable, and not taking no for an answer, and trying again, and not worrying about rejection, or not worrying if it doesn't work out the first time, to kind of keep going. And entrepreneurs that are successful have a way of sort of persevering that way, that helps them to overcome some of these challenges, some of these external factors that are sometimes hard to control.
Yeah, so you have to have your plan A, your plan B, all the way down, just so
Yes.
that you can, it's kind of like moving pieces on a board.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And one of our entrepreneurs been talking about resilience. She had a certain business model, and then when COVID came, she went to her team and she said, "What do you think we should do?" So don't be afraid to tap into the knowledge of those working for you, those in your network. You don't have to necessarily agree with what they say. If you don't agree with it, you don't have to do it. But sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes the creativity of a team can tackle big problems better than ourselves. So finding a trusted network, I think, can also be really helpful in overcoming especially tough external problems that we can't control.
Agreed. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of the third part of our business planning Ask the Expert segment. Remember to submit any questions that you have in the comments or in the link in the description. If you have any questions about financials, accounting, grant related, business planning, you can submit those. Also, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts on this segment. A special thank you to our segment sponsor, Futurpreneur. Click the link in the description to learn more about them and to download all those templates that Andrea talked about. And thank you to our expert, Andrea Welling. We are very excited. Thank you so much. We will see you in future videos.
Yay.